All right. We have been studying the book of Revelation, and we are into now the 7 churches of the book of Revelation. We started, of course, with Ephesus, and we went to Smyrna, and we went to Pergamos, then we went to Thyatira, then we went to Sardis. We went to 5 churches, and now we are studying the Church of Philadelphia. And as we have been studying the book of Revelation, one of the things that was pointed out as we studied was the 3 time periods that the book of Revelation covers: the past, the present, and the future. And as we talked about the 7 churches, we mentioned that the 7 churches represent time periods of the history of the assembly of the Most High's chosen people from the time of the 1st century after the Messiah appeared to the earth and resurrected and was crucified and resurrected and took his position as our high priest, all the way to the return of the Messiah. And that these 7 churches represent these time periods, and that now we're in Philadelphia. And as we talked about, the past 5 churches we studied are the past. We are now in Philadelphia, and we're soon to be in Laodicea. Laodicea is being formed as Philadelphia is being completed. Philadelphia is not completed until the 144,000 are sealed. And when the 144,000 are sealed, Laodicea will begin. And Laodicea is the shortest of all the churches in terms of time period. And we will talk about that as we get to Laodicea. But I wanted to, as we spoke, that we are now in Philadelphia, and we talked about past, present, and future. And one of the reason I keep bringing that up today, one of the reasons is there are people that try or attempt to teach the book of Revelation. And one of the things that you have heard people say, and tell me if you have heard this, is that most of Revelation hasn't came yet. It's in the future. Have y'all ever heard somebody talk about Revelation like that? Like, we're not in this section of Revelation. It's in the future. And of course, they're woefully incorrect, because we talked about past, present, and future. And as we study the book of Revelation, let's look at the verse we talked about with regard to that. Revelation chapter 1. As Yachanan, our brother and prophet, is seeing Messiah when he was on the island of Patmos in chapter 1, and he is receiving this revelation of the Messiah, which the Messiah received from Yah, our Father. There's some things that Messiah mentioned to him, including the time periods. Let's look at this in Revelation chapter 1, from verse 17 down to verse 20, with the emphasis on verse 19. From verse 17 down to verse 20, with the emphasis on verse 19. Notice what it says. Thank you, Isha Shakat. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and of death. Write the things which thou hast seen, and the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter. The mystery of the 7 stars, which thou sawest in my right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches. So you see verse 19, write the things which thou hast seen, past, and the things which are present, and the things which shall be hereafter, future, past, present, and future. So that as you are studying the book of Revelation, there are things in the book of Revelation that have already taken place, past. And then at all times in the book of Revelation, there is something in the book of Revelation that is taking place right now, present. And there are things in the book of Revelation which shall take place in the future. Future. Okay? So Philadelphia is now. Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Thyatira, and Sardis were past. But as we talked about also in the book of Revelation, as we discussed earlier, all of the character traits of the previous 5 churches come together in culmination all the way till you get to the end. And so, for example, when it talks about Ephesus losing its first love, we see that today, even though it happened in the 1st century. When we talk about Smyrna and people being put to death and people being poor in money but rich in faith, we see that today. When we talked about Pergamos and Balaam selling out his faith for money, we see that today. When we talk about the rise of the Roman Catholic Church and Christianity, and it's described as Jezebel and people being so brainwashed, so darkened in these religions that they don't even understand what the truth is, and the Most High having mercy on them because of their ignorance, because of their blindness, because of their brainwashed state. He says, I will put upon you no other burden. We see that today. We also see Sardis. Hold on one second. Mommy, could you just put it on silent so that okay. So when we see Sardis, we see a persons that have a name that liveth and are dead. This is all of Christian churches, all of these different churches calling themselves Jehovah's Witnesses, the Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ, and all of these dead churches. You see it today. Okay. So you're going to notice that character traits from all the churches, you can understand the character traits because you see them yourself today. Does that make sense, brothers and sisters? That's telling you that all the character traits that you have noticed from these churches in past history, the things that mark them are also being present today, which is telling us what I was saying is cumulative. Okay. Philadelphia is the most important of all the churches, because in Philadelphia, where we are right now, is the development and sealing of the 144,000. In Philadelphia is the preparation of a group of people that are going to give a final warning message to the earth, a group of people that are going to make a call for the Most High scattered, chosen, brainwashed folks in all the earth to come out of these fallen institutions, to come out of these whores of Babylon, to come out from the great whore. And somebody might ask, and they should ask, come out into what? You see, this is the thing, brothers and sisters. Jehovah's Witnesses knock on people's doors to tell you to come out of your church and to do what? To join their false church, right? SDAs give you literature and talk to you about Ellen White for you to do what? For you to come out of your church and join their false church. The Mormons have people coming knocking on your door with their little white short sleeve shirts in the summer, mostly Caucasian young men and young women, asking you if you read the Book of Mormon and saying you should leave whatever church you're in and join their church, their false church. But the truth is, the Most High is not interested. Listen to me carefully, brothers and sisters. The Most High is not interested in having any of his children join any of these denominations and any of these organized religions. Why do I say that? Because as we study the scriptures, and I want to make sure you can hear me. Testing 1, 2, 3. I want to make sure you can hear me, right? Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. I want to make sure you can hear me. The reason I can say that is because as we study the scriptures, and I defy any man on this planet, because I'm looking at this King James Bible, this King James, not the New King James, not the NSB, not the NASD, or any other of the alphabets, or the NIV, or whatever else. I'm talking about the King James Bible. I defy anybody to tell me that there's any chosen people that's not Israel in this Bible. This Bible doesn't tell me anything about some Jehovah's Witnesses. It doesn't tell me anything about Roman Catholics being chosen, except to be the whore. It doesn't tell me anything about no SDA church being a remnant. It doesn't tell me anything about no Mormons being the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I mean, none of that. Only thing I see in here is what he says to the children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Only you have I chosen of all the families of the earth. And Moses saying, if you don't go with us, don't send us, because there's the only thing that's different between us and all the people of the earth is that you with us. That's the nation of Israel. Okay? He said, I've chosen you a peculiar people unto myself above all the families of the earth. Deuteronomy says that. So we only see one, and then the apostle Shaul or Paul, he says all Israel shall be saved. He didn't say the whole world gonna be saved. He said all Israel shall be saved after he's rebuking them Gentiles trying to think they taking Israel's place. Then when you go to this book in Revelation, even if you don't understand it, in the back of the book, I can tell you in chapter 21 of the book of Revelation, it talks about a city that the people are going to inhabit. It talks about a city, and it calls the city New Jerusalem. Does it not? It calls the city New Jerusalem. That's a Hebrew city. That's an Israelite city. You can't even say it's a Jewish city. It's an Israelite city. How do we know it's an Israelite city? Because it has 12 gates. And on the gates, there's special names written. On the gates are not written. They don't have Martin Luther's name written on that gate. Nope. They don't got Ellen White's name written on that gate. They don't got Joseph Smith's name written on that gate. What name they got written on that gate? They got the names of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel written on that gate, on them gates. So that's a Hebrew city right there. That's an Israelite nation. So that tells me that there is no denomination that the Most High has chosen, no Christian religion that he's chosen. He's chosen the nation of Israel as his chosen people. Okay, that's who he has chosen. And there's no spiritual Israel. You Israel from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, or you grafted into them, or you not. It's just as simple as that. Okay, so the 144,000 are going to give a call to the earth for the chosen people to come out. And in Philadelphia, where we are right now, they are alive. They're on the earth right now. They're a literal number of men, and they're being prepared. They're not being prepared on television. This is not going to be televised. Let me repeat. This is not going to be televised. You're not going to see them on television. You're not going to hear about them on the radio. You're not going to see them on stage somewhere in some stadium like Billy Graham. No. The Messiah took them 12 apostles, the Hebrews that he trained, and he called them aside. And he would take them to mountains, and he would take them to desolate areas, and he would teach them the secrets of truth that the established teachers at that time were not teaching the people. And nobody knew who these brothers was. Some of them, like I said, some of them were zealots. Some of them were political people. Some of them were fishermen, tax collectors, right? Scholars. But none of them were famous. And so when they broke out, when the Holy Ghost of the Father fell on them, and they came out and they started performing miracles, and they started preaching the word and teaching it with a power that the people had never seen before, except from the Messiah himself. The people didn't know who these brothers was. Let me tell you something else. When Elijah or Elijah came on the scene, when he showed up, what happened was when you see Elijah, right? The first time you see Elijah in the Bible, right? You don't even hear about him being born. You don't hear about his birth. You don't hear about his parents, right? All you know from Elijah the Tishbite is that he come from Gilead. That's all you know. He just kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he just kind of showed up out of nowhere, right? And when he came, all he said, he walked right into Ahab's court. And when he came, all he said was, "It's not going to rain except by my word." And he walked out. And he came in, and the Bible says he came in and he had a hairy mantle on. He must have looked like some kind of crazy man when he walked up in there. And homie came up in there and he said, "It's not going to rain until I give the word." And they might have just laughed at him, you know. In fact, let's look at it. 1 Kings chapter 17. 1 Kings chapter 17. This is all you know about the history of Aliyah. Notice this. 1 Kings chapter 17. We're going to read from verse 1. And we're going to go down to verse, let's see, 5. From verse 1, actually from verse 1, let's go from verse 1 down to verse 7. Notice what it said. And Aliyah, the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, "As Yahweh most high of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word." And the word of Yahweh came unto him, saying, "Get thee hence and turn thee eastward, and hide thyself by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there." So he went and did according to the word of Yahweh. For he went and dwelt by the brook Cherith, that is before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening. And he drank of the brook. And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up, because there had been no rain in the land. Now listen, this brother just showed up. All you got is that he's of the inhabitants of Gilead. That means he was of Manasseh. Gilead was owned by Manasseh. He was from the tribe of Manasseh. And they called him a Tishbite of the tribe of Manasseh. And he just showed up out of nowhere, out of one of the 12 tribes. And he was a prophet of the Most High. And he gave his word. And the Most High said, "Go into the wilderness and I'm going to feed you there." Now, let me ask you something. Wait a minute. Here's a question before I continue, just to let you know how this is going to flow. So who else did you hear about in the Bible that the Most High called into the wilderness and then he fed them? Like they didn't have to bring food. He fed them and he gave them water. Who else did you hear about that he called into the wilderness and he fed them and he gave them water? Who else in the Bible? Come on, open your mind up a little bit. It's not that hard. This ain't a trick question. That's right. It was Moses and the children of Israel. The Israelites were called into the wilderness and he gave them manna, right? In the morning, he gave them manna for the whole day's worth of food, and he gave them water out of a rock, and he protected them with a cloud, and they were out in the wilderness. Listen, brothers and sisters, there's certain things that Israelites have in common with each other in terms of their history. Israelites have been enslaved several times. Right? I mean, as Israel, if you look at their history, they were enslaved by the Egyptians, right? They were enslaved by the Babylonians, right? They were chased out of Jerusalem by the Romans, right? So they've been enslaved by the Arabs, right? They were enslaved by the sons of Japhet, right? So they've been enslaved by the Hamites, the sons of Japhet. They've been enslaved by even Semites, because Arabs are Semites, and Arabs enslaved and castrated us. That's why I could never be a Muslim. How could you be a Muslim of a group of people who invented a religion that enslaved and castrated your people? I don't know. Especially you're going to run from Christianity because that's the Caucasian man's religion, you say, and they enslaved you, but you're going to run to Islam, and they enslaved just about as much of us. At least the Caucasian man allowed us to breed. The Arabs would castrate the men and rape the women. But anyway, we have a history of being enslaved, right? We have a history of being called into the wilderness. Right? We have a history of being told to trust in the Most High for our provision. Let me tell you, this is where we're going, brothers and sisters, because the 144,000, and I'm just giving you a little backdrop. We're not even at Philadelphia yet. We're getting ready to get there. I don't want to lose sight of that. But I'm just telling you, the 144,000 are going to be coming out of nowhere, like the 12 apostles did, like Elisha did. They're going to come out of nowhere. Nobody's going to know who they are. They're being trained. All of us being trained right now. How is he training us? He's training us in faith. He's training us in poverty. He's training us in trial and tribulation. He's training us to trust him. He's training us right now. Right now. Aliyah's only concern, his concern was to give glory to the Father. Huh? His concern was to give glory to the Father. So whatever he did when he walked up in Ahab's court, it wasn't like he was getting paid to do that. It wasn't like he was getting paid to do that. He did it. Right? When he stood up there and called all Israel on Mount Carmel, and they came up there, 400 prophets of Baal, with all the people ready to kill that brother, he wasn't getting paid to do that. It was for the glory of the Father. He wasn't looking for no million hits on YouTube when he did that. Huh? It's for the glory of the Father. When the 12 apostles went out and Messiah had ascended and told them, and he told them, wait at Jerusalem and you're going to be witnesses unto me. Their whole goal was to be witnesses to the Messiah. And in so doing, they were going to be giving glory to the Father. Because Messiah taught us, if you love me, you love my Father also. If you hate me, you hate my Father also. They caught that and they went out with that in mind. They wasn't trying to get rich. They wasn't making no money off this thing. They wasn't trying to get a million hits on YouTube. They wasn't trying to get 15 minutes of fame. These brothers was ready to die for the truth. Ready to die for the truth. The truth of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The truth of his word and for his glory and character. They were ready to give, and they did give their lives for it. Just so. The only thing concerning the 144,000, their only reason for existence is to give glory to the Heavenly Father. They understand that you can only give glory to the Heavenly Father as you are perfect reflections of himself. As you are perfect reflections of himself. And as we are learning, as we study this Bible, and we're learning from the New Testament as well as the Old Testament, but we're learning that the key theme of the New Testament is talk to me. What is it now? What is it? How do we overcome all our sin so that we can be obedient to our Father, so that we can give him ultimate honor and glory? How is it that we could do that? How do we know this is absolutely possible when all these so-called Christians out here teaching you can't overcome your sin? How is it that we know we could do that from the scriptures? Talk to me now. How do we know? Y'all should know. I shouldn't. I mean, y'all should know. I mean, you know, if you're listening to these broadcasts, you know what I'm about to say. I mean, I shouldn't have to keep repeating it, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's right. We understand that the teachings of the Apostle Shaul or Paul are actually statutes and judgments and clarification on the doctrine that was introduced by the prophets of old. And that doctrine is the doctrine of justification by faith. The doctrine that will cause a man to overcome all his sin and put on the righteousness of the Father. You see, brothers and sisters, listen to me here. You ain't got to go knocking on nobody's door. You ain't got to be handing out no checks. Listen to me now. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things per se, but I'm saying to you, if you are spreading something, right? Like, look, check it out. Check it out. Listen to me carefully. Listen now. If I was an evil person and I had a disease, and I knew that whoever was going to be in touch with me was going to get the disease, right? I could go knocking on people's door, right? But really, if I wanted to just spread the disease, I'll just go about my business like I do every day. I go to my job. I go to the store. I do what I do. I greet people. I say hello, and anybody I touch or anybody that's within my breath, right, is gonna catch the disease. You hear what I'm saying? And then by them catching it, they bring it to other people, and pretty soon that thing is going to spread, right? I mean, you understand? Well, now let's flip it. Let's flip it 180. I'm wearing the Father's righteousness. And I want other people to see that righteousness. I want other people to feel that righteousness, right? Right? So all I got to do is make sure I got the coat on. I got to make sure I'm wearing the coat every day. I got to make sure that I'm wearing that spirit of righteousness so that whoever meets me under any circumstance, even if I don't even open my mouth, they're going to look at me and they're going to see something different. Not because I'm different, because the Father done put something on me. You see what I'm saying? And not only that, if the Father is interested, and you remember what Messiah taught that woman at the well, he said, they that worship the Father must worship him in spirit and in truth. And then he said this, he said, what did he say? He said, the Father seeketh such to worship him. Isn't that what he said? He said, the Father seeketh such. That means the Father looking for people who are interested in worshiping him in spirit and in truth. So that if you and I are wearing the righteousness of the Father, we become agents of righteousness that he can bring and put any place he wants to, that wherever we go, under any circumstances, we are liable to spread that righteousness. You understand? You hear what I'm saying? Under any circumstance, under any situation, we're liable to spread that righteousness. So that he can place us in a job, in a town, in a city, in a situation, in a circumstance where we have contact with people that he wants us to contact, that we didn't even know he wants us to contact, but they come across our path in our sphere. And because of that, they get touched by the spirit that's on us. It's about the spirit. And then the Father, wanting people that want to worship him in spirit and in truth, will cause a certain conversation, may cause a certain conversation to take place. And we may not even have planned, well, we probably haven't planned it. He puts the words in our mouth that whoever needs to hear needs to hear. And then that causes them to go ahead. And it's a seed that's planted that one day when we're standing on the sea of glass with the redeemed, and the 144,000 and the prophets of old, somebody will walk up to you and say, you remember me? And you say, no. Well, one day we met at such and such a place, and we had such and such a conversation. And based on that conversation, it led me here on the sea of glass with you. You say, brother, that sounds crazy. Look, is there a limit to the spirit of the Father? Can we put a limit on the power of the Father's spirit? Can we? See, I know Christianity does that. They put limits on it because they say you can't follow no truth except you in their church, right? But that's them. That's their problem. That's their business. They worship a different God than we worship. We worship the Father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of the covenant of the Most High. And he has no limit on his spirit. And it is the most powerful agent on the earth. There is no agent that's more powerful than the Father's spirit. None. See? So that is why. That is why. It's the most, that's why and Messiah, when he was teaching us how to pray, remember Messiah said, when you pray, he said, don't go in the middle of the street like the hypocrites. He said, because they want to be seen of men, as if, they want to be seen of men. He said, no. He said, when you pray, he said, go into your house, and when you have shut your door, pray to your Father, which is in secret. And he said, your Father that seeth in secret shall reward you openly. Remember that? So that what he really said, the important thing, brothers and sisters, is for us to receive the Father's Spirit, and we receive it in prayer. We receive it by devoting ourselves to the truth of his word. And that work, quote unquote, of seeking the Father and seeking his word and seeking his truth and seeking his Spirit, that's the work. It will be made manifest in the actions. It'll be made manifest in the results. Okay? It'll be made manifest, and that's how we give glory to the Father. And that is the only thing that the 144,000 are concerned with. Just like it was the only thing that the apostles were concerned with, and the disciples. It's the only thing Elijah was concerned with. And that is why you're not going to see them on television. Because people that go on television want to be seen of men. And they generally, they want you to give them some money. Am I telling the truth or not? Have you seen any television preacher? I mean, anyone that ever came on television that did not ask for money? I mean, have you ever seen anyone that did not ask for money? Anyone? Now I wonder why that is. Please give money to this ministry. It could not continue without your faithful support. I mean, that is about as sorry as you could get, isn't it? I mean, that is about as sorry as you. I mean, seriously, I mean, what I'm saying is, if you look at a dollar bill, it says on the dollar, it says $1. It says Federal Reserve Note, the United States of America. And for this thing, they're going on television trying to get you to give them this thing. And they say, without your faithful support by this greenback, this ministry would not continue. Have you ever heard them say that? And what they're really saying to you is, if you don't give us Federal Reserve notes, this ministry will not continue. If you really listen to that, I mean, that's a disgrace to the Father. That's a disgrace to the Father. Because from what I'm studying in the Word, what is necessary for the work to continue is what the Messiah told the disciples. He said, tarry at Jerusalem until you be endowed with power from on high. That's what he told them. And he said, when you get the power, you'll be witnesses unto me. That's what we need. See? So you're not going to see them on television. You're not. When this thing gets ready to pop off, you're going to see them on the street. And the people going to wonder, how are they being sustained? Because they're not going to be able to buy or sell. They're not going to be able to buy or sell. They're going to be homeless. But they're not going to appear crazy. Well, you might think they're crazy, but they're going to be sustained by the Most High himself. They're going to be sustained by him because they have learned, and now this is what we're doing right now. We're learning to put all our trust in the Father, to listen for his voice, to trust him explicitly, not to worry about what man says, not to worry about what man does, not to concern ourselves with the plans of the wicked. Bible says, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. So our concern is for the Father's glory alone, and we're being prepared by the Father through the Messiah, Yahushua, to give him that glory. To give him that glory. And that's what Philadelphia is about. So we talked about how In fact, let's start where we left off. Let's start where we left off last time in Philadelphia, Revelation chapter 3. Revelation chapter 3, verse 7 and 8. Revelation chapter 3, verse 7 and 8. Notice what it says. Revelation chapter 3, verse 7 and 8. And to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these things saith he that is holy, he that is true, he that hath the key of David, he that openeth and no man shutteth, and shutteth and no man openeth. I know thy works. Behold, I have set before thee an open door, and no man can shut it. For thou hast a little strength, and hast kept my word, and hast not denied my name. That's what we did the last time. That's what we did the last study. This is what we studied. And we talked about how when we started the book of Revelation in chapter 1, when Yochanan, the apostle and prophet, and our brother Yochanan, when he saw Messiah, he saw him in the midst of 7 golden candlesticks as he was looking at him in a vision. And Messiah being in the midst of 7 golden candlesticks, we surmised that he was in the holy place of the heavenly sanctuary. The heavenly sanctuary, which is the sanctuary that's the original, not made with hands, that which Moses made in the wilderness was a copy, right? Which had candlesticks in that copy, but this is the original. And therefore, we understood that as Messiah being our high priest after the order of Malach Sadak, or after the order of the King of Righteousness, Messiah being a high priest after the order of from this genealogy of the King of Righteousness, understand that, we knew that in Moses' economy, in Moses' situation, Most High Father taught Moses that the priests were to go into that sanctuary once a day, in the first part, but once a year they were going to the most holy place where the Ark of the Covenant is, and they were to go in there with the blood of an animal that was killed for their sins and the sins of the people, understanding that Messiah became the sacrifice for our sins. He didn't need to be sacrificed for his own sins because he did not sin, and so he goes into the most holy place eventually. As the priest did on earth, he's going to do that in heaven for our sins. And he does that to take sin off of his people, the nation of Israel, and to put on them perfect righteousness. Again, let me just say, he goes into the most holy place to take sin off of his people and to replace the sin spirit with perfect righteousness from the Father. Let me just explain again, just because people just we always get new people and they don't understand what I'm talking about. Let me say this now. We are not declaring ourselves perfect, but we are declaring to the earth that we wear the Father's robe of perfection. We don't have our own righteousness, but we are borrowing by faith the Father's perfect righteousness. Okay, I gotta keep making that clear, because this doctrine is the one that the devil hates the most, because he knows it's the one that frees the people from sin, and it's the one he wants to pervert and twist and cause the people like myself, our words, to get perverted and twisted so that people try to misrepresent what we're saying. But the people that are the Israelite nation of the Most High will hear what I'm saying, will receive it, and will overcome their sin. That's why I'm saying it again clearly. So Messiah has entered into, in Philadelphia, the most holy place. That's where he goes in the most holy. And he's in there to take sin off of us and replace that sin with the Father's perfect righteousness. Now, the day's going to come, and we're going to read that also in the book of Revelation, where the Father's going to look at us, and he's going, and the Son's going to, no, wait, Messiah's going to look at us as he gets the report from the angel that came down here with the seal. And the angel's going to say they're sealed. And Father's going to say, okay, that's their righteousness now. I'm not lending it to them anymore. It's theirs. That's what the sealing's all about. You see, the seal of the Father that Revelation 7 talks about, that seal, let's look at that. Revelation chapter 7. Revelation chapter 7. Again, this is Revelation 7 is taking place under the 6th seal, which corresponds with the sixth church, which corresponds with the sixth trumpet. So we're going to talk about that. But Revelation chapter 7, verse 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Revelation 7, 1 through 4. And we're going to read this lots of times. After these things, I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. The seal is the Father's spirit of righteousness. And when you are sealed in the Father's spirit of righteousness, you are sealed in his character. Listen to me carefully. The Father's character is holy and righteous and just. The Bible also describes something else as holy and righteous and just. Aside from the Father, it describes Messiah the same way. It also describes his law the same way. Holy and just and good is his law. Why? Because the covenant, which they're commonly referred to as the 10 Commandments, but mostly referred in the Bible to as the covenant is a duplication of the Father's character of righteousness and holiness and truth. Therefore, when the 144,000 are sealed in the Father's spirit, they are permanently obedient to his law. And they become partakers of his divine nature permanently. And that's what we are seeking. And that's what Messiah is trying to give to us. Problem is, most people don't want it. That's the problem. But that's their problem. That brings us to my next point. It is a literal number of men. How do we know that? Take a look around. Take a good look around. I am here in the middle of New York City, literally. I'm in the middle of Manhattan. My wife and I spent the day walking through this city, up and down in it. Okay? What did we see? Millions of people. Millions of deceived people. Here it is Friday. We're making our way back to the hotel room so we can be here for the Shabbat. And everybody doing whatever they want to do. My wife's note said it's the Most High Sabbath coming and everybody doing what they want to do. And I said, you know what the Bible said? That Satan has deceived the whole earth. So that they don't care. He got them not even understanding how important this day is. Because most of the earth is deceived. Right? And not only that, you have to look around you. Look at what they're doing. You remember now, just today we were talking about this. You remember how in Exodus chapter 1, Pharaoh told the midwives, if the Hebrews have a child, if it's a male, throw it in the river. If it's a female, keep it alive. Y'all remember that? I mean, that was his decree. First, he told the Hebrew midwives. The Hebrew midwives would not listen and do what Pharaoh said. So then he told his whole nation, if you see a Hebrew baby, if it's a male, throw it in the river with the crocodiles and alligators. If it's a female, just let it live, right? Because they could breed with females and make more Egyptians. But males, they breed Hebrews. You got to get rid of them. Well, let me ask you. Look around. What is happening to the Hebrew males in the American culture? What are they doing to the Hebrew males in Africa? What are they doing to the Hebrew males? Look around. And you know what? Listen, I'm talking to people that are looking for truth. Y'all don't have to believe me. That's your business. It's my business to tell the truth, and I'm getting ready to tell it. Let me tell you Look around. What are they doing to the Hebrew males? First off, let me just be very plain and blunt. Brothers and sisters, sometimes I can get ugly, man. I was just with my family. My family could get wild. So I might have a little of that spirit on me. I'm just telling you. So I'm just gonna be straight with you, right? Listen, Planned Parenthood. Well, first of all, before we go, when I'm talking about Hebrew males, I'm talking about the so-called African American men. I'm talking about the men that are descendants of those that come off on them slave ships. I'm talking about them people. Those are the Hebrews. Those are the true Hebrews. You could cut your YouTube off now if you don't believe me. I'm just telling you right now, because this is where I'm standing. You could just cut it off right now. But the black male is the most maligned, the most attacked, the most oppressed, the most persecuted human being on the planet Earth. The most hated on the planet Earth. There is no man on the earth hated like him. He is public enemy number one, regardless of where he is. He always is. They shoot him in the street. They round him up in neighborhoods called ghettos. They take his father out the house. They flood his neighborhoods with expensive exotic drugs. They fight over these drugs. They provide him guns so they can kill each other. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're a conspiracy theorist. Let's talk about common sense, shall we? Cocaine and heroin come from places like Afghanistan. Cocaine and heroin come from poppy seeds and stuff like that. Come from places like Pakistan and Central America. Now let me ask you: if you got a group of people living in ghettos, right, and unemployment rate always triple the national average, how can they afford to bring tons of heroin and cocaine from faraway lands? I mean, how is that possible if they don't have no money and they living in places they can't even afford to live in? I mean, how is that possible? How is it possible that these brothers come up with all this expensive artillery in these hoods? You don't see brothers at no gun shows with the NRA. You don't see brothers running around talking about NRA. How they come up with semi-automatic weapons and 9mm and hollow tip bullets? How they come up with that if they ain't got no money? And they can't afford to have shiploads and plane loads of cocaine and heroin. How could they do that? They have to have some help from somebody. I mean, right? I mean, that's just common sense, right? That's just plain economics, right? So that you can see it's planned. Wait a minute. Now we finding out that these chemical companies are putting certain things in the foods that the Hebrews eat to cause them to have homosexual tendencies. They are putting stuff in the food, in the seed. They're putting stuff in the injections. They claim they're supposed to be injecting us to protect us from disease, and really what they're doing is they infecting us to make us impotent. Isn't that interesting? So they're trying to kill us with disease. They're trying to kill us with drugs. They're trying to kill us with guns. They try to section us off in ghettos and neighborhoods. Then they turn around talking about privatizing. They privatize the prison and they come up with this 3-strike law and they start stacking us up in jail for life. Then they take the black female and they put her above the male and they got her talking about, I don't need a man. These niggas ain't no good. Huh? Y'all ever heard them talk like that? That's what all these reality TV shows are about. That's what they about. So you can see that they're putting forth superhuman effort to reduce the population. My wife and I today, we walked around the city, man. I think we can count on one hand in downtown the number of black males we seen that wasn't gay. That wasn't gay. Am I in my line? I think we can count on one hand. When we went up in the hood, when we went up into Harlem, at least the parts of Harlem that haven't been quote unquote gentrified, we can see some brothers still up there. I was really pleasantly surprised to see, but of course they were struggling. They were struggling. You could see the struggle was still strong up there, but they were at least brothers. But when you start coming downtown, they well dressed and they smell like they got like a sweet perfume on them. Pants so tight up in their gonads. I mean, I'll be like, what? Our brothers all jacked up. Huh? And I said, look at these beautiful Hebrew men, man. They're just dogging us. So that now, I mean, really, tell the truth. Some of y'all that's over like 40 or over 50, like me, I mean, it used to be back in the day, right? I mean, honestly, right? Everybody got some uncle, some aunt somewhere that was homosexual. Like some people just born with this gene, you know, and they just come out and they just don't have an affinity toward the opposite sex. I mean, we all, but usually like when you had your uncle or your cousin and they was gay, they kind of kept it on the down low. Like they didn't go promoting that mess, right? I mean, right? I mean, you knew they was gay, and you know, you just kind of kept it like that, and they had their stuff on the DL or whatever little business they did out between them and whoever they was doing it with, but it wasn't like promoted, and you know what I'm saying? It was on the DL, like they call it in the closet. But now, they treat you like a hero. You come out and tell people you letting some man boink you in the behind, huh? They treat you like you some sort of hero. You act like you want to get your stuff cut out and have something else sewn on, huh? They act like you a hero. You like to dress in women's clothes and you a man. You a hero when you come out and say that mess. You so courageous. I mean, right? I mean, that's how perverted it is, man. That's how perverted it is. I'm just saying this is a sign of where we are. And I started off this conversation by letting you know that's why I'm telling you 144,000 literal number of males of Hebrew descent. Why? Because they are destroying the males. Huh? And those they're not destroying by jail, by economics, by drugs, by brainwashing. They're not just, if they're not catching you that way, they got you in these churches. Now, this is the biggest brainwash factories of all. Churches, Christian churches, Muslim church. Like I said, I've heard brothers actually say, I could never be a Christian. Well, why not? Because that's the religion of my oppressor. That's the religion of those. Malcolm X say that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how the brother, he must obviously not know the history, because the Arabs enslaved us. There was a trans-Saharan slave trade, just like there was a transatlantic slave trade. So if you claiming you can't follow this one because that's the religion of your oppressors, how could you be a Muslim? I mean, how could you do that? But that's what they do. So, and not only that, when you read the Bible now, when you study the Bible, in fact, you know, when you look at the book of Numbers, it's called Numbers. When you read the book of Numbers, right? When you read that book and it's giving you data in terms of how many males were prepared for war, right? It's a literal number. Whenever the Bible numbers men of Israel, listen to me carefully, it's a literal number. Now, all the men were not supposed to be numbered. Only the men prepared for war. Remember, that's why David got in trouble. David got in trouble because he tried to number everybody. And even Joab said, look, Joab was dirty. Joab was power hungry. And Joab told David, look, King, you don't want to do this, man. You don't want to do this because Most High don't want you numbering the people. And then David went and had him do it. And he half did it. He didn't number all of them because the Bible says he despised the order. But then after David had him do it, the Bible says his heart smote him because he knew he did wrong. And that's when the Most High put the disease on the people. Okay, but if you look at the book of Numbers, notice what it says, Numbers chapter 1. Numbers chapter 1. I'm going to read Numbers chapter 1. I'm going to read from verse, I'm not going to read all of it. I'm just going to read from verse 1. From verse 1 down to verse 4. Notice what it says from verse 1 down to verse 4 of Numbers chapter 1. And Yahweh spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation, on the first day of the second month, in the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, after their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls, from 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of the house of their fathers. So they went by the tribes, and they numbered who? They numbered the males. They didn't number everybody. They numbered the males, and only certain males, right? They didn't number all the males, just the males that were prepared for war from 20 years and upward. Did y'all catch that? They didn't number everybody, just the male. And it was a literal number. Let's look at another witness. Exodus chapter 12. Exodus chapter 12. Notice Exodus chapter 12. This is when the children of Israel were leaving on the night of the Passover, the first Passover in the history of the chosen people. In Exodus chapter 12, notice what it says. Exodus chapter 12, verse 37 and 38. Exodus chapter 12, 37 and 38. Notice what it said. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. Notice, the only people that were numbered were the children of Israel, and they were just the men. They didn't even number the mixed multitude that came up with them. They didn't number the children. They didn't number the women, just the men. And it was a literal number. Now, look, that just as a side note, we can see today, and you can look at it when you look at the history of Adam and Eve and their children, that there were always on the earth more women on the earth than men. Always more women than men. Always. So if there were 600,000 men, there were at least 600,000 women, probably more than that, plus children. So what am I saying? I'm saying that the group that left the nation of Egypt, the nation that the Most High took out of another nation, as he put it, were over 1 million people. But he only numbered the men that were prepared for war. Witness 2. See? You see where I'm saying? You see that? Y'all also remember. Y'all remember when we read the word, and I'm sure y'all read this. Y'all remember when Messiah came and he fed the 5,000. Remember? He fed the 5,000. He said, how are we going to feed all these people? And they said, man, we can't feed all these people. And he said, let the people sit down. Right? Remember that? And then after they fed them, after they fed the people, the Bible tells us how many they were. Didn't it say? And it tell us they did not count the women. Wait a minute, let me find it. They did not count the women. They only counted, who did they count? They counted the men. Notice this, Mark chapter 8. Mark chapter 8. Mark chapter 8. Let's see, I'm going to read from verse 1. From verse 1 down to verse 9. From verse 1 down to verse 9. In those days, the multitude being very great, having nothing to eat, Yahushua, that's what we call him, because that's his true Hebrew name, Yahushua called his disciples unto him and said unto them, I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. And if I send them away fasting to their own houses, they will faint by the way, for divers of them came from far. And his disciples answered him, from whence can a man satisfy these men with bread here in the wilderness? And he asked them, how many loaves have ye? And they said, 7. And he commanded the people to sit down on the ground, and he took 7 loaves and gave thanks and gave them to his disciples to set before them, and they did set them before the people. And they had a few fishes, and he blessed and commanded to set them before them, to set them also before them. So they did eat and were filled, and took up the broken fragments that was left 7 baskets. And they that were eaten were about 4,000. He sent them away. Wait a minute. I was looking for the ones that told you that they were men. I'm sorry. I got to find the other one. I think it's Luke. Let me look at Luke chapter 9. Hold on 1 second. Let me look at Luke chapter 9. Because I'm trying to prove that they only counted the men, and it didn't say that in that particular text. So I want to make sure. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at it to make sure this is the one, because they counted them, and I want to see where they counted them, and it wasn't the one that I was looking at. Yeah. No, they counted them. That's why I'm looking at it. Hang on 1 second. I'm gonna find it. I'm looking at Luke first, but it was a couple of places. Hold on 1 second. Hold on, Bubba Louis. We're gonna find it. Yeah, no, I'm gonna give you these witnesses. I'm not playing here. We're gonna get these witnesses out here. Hold on 1 second, man. Hold on. Okay. This is the one. It's Mark chapter 6. I'm sorry. It's Mark chapter 6. Mark chapter 6. Because he did it twice. It was Mark chapter 6. Mark chapter 6. That's what it was. There's a couple of places, but this is one of them. Mark chapter 6. Because he did it twice. He fed 5,000 one, and he fed 4,000 another time. So it's here. Mark chapter 6. I'm going to read from verse 38. And I'm going to read from verse 38 down to 44. Mark chapter 6 from 38 to 44. That's what I'm looking for. Mark 6, 38 to 44. Notice what it said. And he said unto them, how many loaves have ye? Go and see. And when they knew, they say 5 and 2 fishes. And he commanded them to make all sit down by companies upon the green grass. And they sat down in ranks by 150 and by 50. And when he had taken the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, he looked up to heaven and blessed and brake the loaves and gave them to his disciples to set before them. And the 2 fishes divided he among them all. And they did all eat and were filled. And they took up 12 baskets full of fragments and of the fishes. And they that did eat of the loaves were about 5,000 men. See, they said, they didn't say anything about women and children. They said they were 5,000 men. You see that? So they don't, in the Bible, the way they do things in the Bible, they do not count women and children. They only count men. See, they don't count women and children. They only count men. So that's my point here. So now when we're talking about the 144,000, there may be other people with them, right? But them themselves are men. Okay, it's just men. I'm not saying there's not going to be any women alive then. There are, just like there were women with the nation of Israel when there's 600,000. Just like there were women in Numbers when he said, count the ones that prepared for war 20 years old and upper. Just like there were women and children out there in the wilderness when they got fed. But he didn't count the women. They only count the men. Y'all follow me? Testing 1, 2, 3. So the 144,000 we can see both from the biblical perspective, and you can see it in actuality when you look out over the earth and what's going on to the black man in America, especially, who is the world leader in terms of the last days of Earth's history. Revelation shows us, as we're going to read when we look at Revelation 13, that the United States of America is the last world leader in terms of nations on the earth. After this is it right here. And this nation is not a long history in the Bible. The United States does not show a long history in the Bible. It's a very short history, and then it's over. And in this nation, the most influential nation on the earth right now, the black male is attacked, maligned, destroyed. I mean, he is trying to do the enemy's trying to do everything they can to kill. Is it Matthew 12 also? Let's take a look at that. But they're trying to do everything they can to destroy the black male who is represented. The devil knows, Hassan knows who the Hebrews really are. See, he knows who they are, and he's trying his best to destroy them. That's what he's trying to do. Let me take a look at that. Let me see. You said Matthew chapter 12, did you say? Let's take a look at that. I don't see it in Matthew chapter 12. Not in those verses. Now, I don't, you sure it's Matthew chapter? Oh, 14. Okay, 14. Let's take a look. That is good one there. There it is right there. Okay. There's Matthew. Let's cut to the chase on this one. Matthew chapter, since we done read all them other verses, Matthew chapter 14, verse 21. Matthew chapter 14, verse 21. Same thing here. He's talking the same thing here. Matthew chapter 14, verse 21. Notice what it says. And they that had were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. See? So they don't count women and children. They don't count mixed multitudes. All they count is Israelite men prepared for war. Do y'all see that? I mean, did we give enough? We gave enough witnesses so you can see that. Not only that, you can see as a witness in your own self, as you can see how the Israelite males are being treated on this earth right now, how they're being homosexualized, how they're being imprisoned, how they're being maligned, how they're being dumped on. See, it's happening right in front of us. See, so always the highest unemployment rate is among black males. That's always. When they show a national unemployment rate in the United States of America, if you were to look at that rate, whatever it is, if it's 5%, 6%, whatever, and you take the black male unemployment rate, is always double what the national one is. So when you're looking at a national rate of like 6%, that's taken into account that there's a black male rate of 12%, plus the Caucasian male rate is probably 3%. You understand? And so we getting dogged all the time. That's just how it is. But it's a sign, because that's why out of them same group of maligned, hated, attacked black males are the Hebrew Israelites. And they're going to rise up. Among the 144,000 is going to be them. Okay? And right now, we're being trained. All of these trials that we're talking about, the Most High is using them to train us, because in spite of all, see, for the black male, there's no margin for error. I mean, there's no margin for error, right? Like you can, if you are a Caucasian male, most of the time, you could drive with a broken taillight and your life is not in danger. But if you're in the wrong street and you're a black male with a broken taillight and a police officer of the law pulls you over, it could mean your life. And it has. I'm not making stuff up. We've seen this. This is what's happened. This is not ancient history. This is recent history, right? So we know this could happen. You're liable to get beat up. You're liable to get handcuffed. You're liable to get arrested. You're liable to get killed. So there's no margin for error. So we understanding this, we who are seeking the truth are turning to the Most High Yah, because he is the protector. He is the director. He is guiding us in his word. He's directing us by his spirit. And this ain't got nothing to do with nobody's Christian church or white Jesus or Allah. This has to do with the Most High himself and the Mashiach Yahushua, the high priest that is putting the coat of righteousness on his people, preparing us for what's coming. So as we talked about last time, Philadelphia has the door opened. Okay, Revelation chapter 3, the door is open. No man can shut it. We talked about how it relates to Isaiah 22. We talked about how the Most High has now opened the door to the most holy place in heaven. And now from 1844, we marked it. Remember, we looked at the 2300-year prophecy of Daniel 8:14. We looked up Ezra. We looked up Nehemiah. We came back and we studied these things out. And we came to 1844. And we saw that Father was ready to send his son to come and get us. in 1844. But he had a delay. Why? Because we were still in chains. 144,000 were not only not free, but they were not obviously not sealed. And he's going to have his 144,000. So he delayed the return. And that's where we are right now. Most High's Son, Messiah, is lingering in the most holy place longer than he's supposed to, because he's finishing this last work that needs to be done on the earth with the 144,000. Now, let's go to the next spot. Revelation chapter 3. We stopped at verse 8. Now let's read verse 9. Revelation chapter 3 and verse 9. Revelation 3, notice what it said. Behold, I will make them of the synagogue of Satan, which say that are Yahudim and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved thee. Now, what is going on here? You see, brothers and sisters, everybody can talk, right? Anybody with a tongue that works can talk, right? But we're really going to see what the real deal is. Like, everybody could say, my church is the true church, right? I mean, right? When you, like I said, when the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on your door, they're going to tell you, we're the true witnesses of Jehovah. SDA Church talk to you, they're going to say, we're the remnant church of Bible prophecy, right? Mormons knock on your church. Have you read the Book of Mormon? We are the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Everybody claiming, everybody making their claim. Just like on the day Aliyah stood on Mount Carmel with the 400 prophets of Baal. You can read about that. It's in 1 Kings. And I think it's chapter 21. And they were out there yelling, "Oh, Baal, hear us. Oh, Baal, hear us." And they were cutting themselves and jumping up and down and making all kind of noise all day long. And nothing happened to their sacrifice. Aliyah got on his knees and bowed with his head to the face to the earth and called on the Most High Yah. And lightning came from the sky, and the fire came down and lit up the sacrifice and the water that was around the sacrifice. And all the people jumped on their faces and said, Yahweh, he is most high. Yahweh is most high. And they turned around and killed them 400 prophets of Baal. Why? Because they can see the proof. This wasn't just no talk. Something actually happened. Just so. There's people out here saying, man, this nigga here, this remnant Hebrew, this Gabar Sadak, he don't know what he talking about. Y'all listening to him, man, you're gonna be lost. You listening, you better go back to church. You've been listening to these Israelite people if you want to. You guys are crazy. We're going to see who's crazy. We're going to see. See, I have so much confidence in the word of the Most High. You know why? You know why I have so much confidence, brothers and sisters? Let me tell you. Because honestly and truly, Messiah said, if a person come for their own glory, you don't trust that person. But if a person comes for the glory of him that sent him, he said there's no unrighteousness in that man. That's what he said. There's no unrighteousness in him. What does that mean? If our only aim and goal is the glory of the Father, like we're not looking for nobody's money, right? We're not looking for nobody's fame or fortune. We just want the truth for the sake of the Father's honor and glory. Then you ain't got nothing to worry about, because he's going to show you that, and what you're saying is going to come to pass. What I was just quoting was from Gospel of John chapter 7, by the way. Gospel of John chapter 7. I'm going to read Gospel of John chapter 7 from verse 16. From verse 16 down to verse 18. This is what I was just talking about. Gospel of John chapter 7, from verse 16 to verse 18. Notice what it says here. Thank you, Isha. Notice what it says. If any man will do his will. No, wait, let me stop. Yahushua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be of Yahweh or whether I speak of myself. He that speaketh of himself seeketh his own glory, but he that seeketh his glory that sent him, the same is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. So you see, if we're seeking the Father's glory, it's not our teaching, it's the Most High's teaching, right? Because we're not looking for anything but truth and righteousness for the glory of the Most High. That being the case, he's going to show us himself, and what he shows us will come to pass. Why? Because this is the thing, brothers and sisters. If I'm wrong, I have no problem saying I'm wrong. Why? Because I want that which is true, that which is right. I have no problem. I cannot afford to dwell on something where I'm wrong if I'm looking for righteousness. You understand? I'm hungry for the truth. Therefore, if there's a creator in the sky, he's going to show me his truth. And if I'm wrong, he's going to show me I'm wrong. And I'll come and say I was wrong. I have no shame in that because I'm looking for the truth. And any person that is in the same vein that is looking for truth gonna be like my brother, because they're gonna say, oh, I'm feeling that because I want the same thing. Do you understand? I'm feeling that I want the same thing. So I'm not concerned with what he has shown me because I know it's gonna come to pass. Therefore, I'm not worried about what anybody is saying on the earth about anything because he done already shown us. See, I'm not reading Revelation, and we're not teaching Revelation so that we can say we're right and everybody's wrong. We're teaching Revelation so that we know what's getting ready to happen. We're prepared. The Most High is showing us to be prepared for what's coming. That's the goal, so that when it hits, we can give glory to the Father. Now, with this worship, see, the majority of the people on planet Earth, they got all kind of agendas. Some people got agendas for money and power. Some people got agendas for popularity. Some people got agendas for whatever. You know what I'm saying? People got all kind of agendas, except for the glory of the Most High. But when it really comes off, when 144,000 are revealed, the people are going to see. There's only one thing that was really worth getting. Now, most of the people are going to reject the message of 144,000. But there's going to be a group of people that's going to understand, wait a minute, man, what these brothers are saying is true. And they're going to walk away from their jobs. They're going to walk away from their money. They're going to walk away from their families. They're going to walk away from their religions. They're going to walk away from their traditions. And they're going to stand with the people of the Most High. They're going to lose everything to do it, but they're going to do it. And they're the ones that are going to come, you know what, y'all been right. Not only that, let me show you, let me give you scripture for that, by the way. Zechariah chapter 8. Zechariah chapter 8. Notice what it says. Zechariah chapter 8. Zechariah chapter 8. I'm going to read from verse 20 down to verse 23. Zechariah chapter 8, from verse 20 to verse 23. The prophet Zechariah. Notice what it says. Thus saith the Most High, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, it shall yet come to pass that there shall come people and the inhabitants of many cities, and the inhabitants of one city shall go to another, saying, let us go speedily to pray before Yahweh and to seek Yahweh of hosts. I will go also, yea, many people and strong nations shall come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Jerusalem and to pray before Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even take hold of the skirt of him that is a Yahudim, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that Elohim is with you. Huh? See that? Then, after the 144,000 give their message, right? After they give their message of truth, at that point, all the people that are going to be saved are going to be sealed. And it's going to be too late for anybody to do anything is terms of repentance. It's going to be too late. And when it's too late, you're going to get some people that's going to come out when it's too late. When it's too late. When no more Holy Spirit is there to come and give them the blessing, they're not going. It's going to be too late. You say, well, where does that happen in the Bible? Y'all heard of Judas, right? You remember Judas? Remember Judas? Remember what happened? Messiah said, when the night that Judas betrayed him, Messiah said, it would have been better for that man if he had not been born. Remember that? Messiah said that. This is Messiah we're talking about. The Father's only begotten. He said, it'd been better for that man if he had not been born. So later that night, when Judas saw that his plan failed, when it was miserable failure, and he knew it was all messed up and it wasn't working right, he came running with the 30 pieces of silver in his hand. He came running to the priest and he said, I have sinned. I have betrayed the innocent blood. It was too late. He was already condemned to eternal damnation. It was too late. Just so. Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. Amos chapter 9. I'm sorry. Amos chapter 8 is what I really want. Amos chapter 8, verse 11 and 12. Amos chapter 8, verse 11 and 12. Amos chapter 8, verse 11 and 12. Notice what it said. Behold, the days come, saith the Most High Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread nor a thirst for water, but of hearing the words of Yahweh. And they shall wander from sea to sea, from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh and shall not find it. See, when it's too late, you're going to get a whole bunch of Judases that's going to come out and say, I have sinned, I want to come back. Too late. See, when the seal is done, when 144,000 have given their message and those that are going to take their stand have taken it, it's too late for everybody else. There's going to be most of the people not going to care. Or at least they're going to act like they don't care because the Spirit's not working with them anymore. But there's going to be a group of people that's going to come and bow before our feet and say, please teach us the Bible. Teach it to us. Teach us the truth. You were just teaching it a couple of months ago. We remember seeing it, but we can't remember what you were saying. Could you please show us? And we're going to be silent. It's going to be too late. Spirit's not going to allow us to speak anymore to them because it's going to be too late. It's going to be too late. Because when the time, which is now, that the Messiah was in the most holy place, when the time that he sent his servants with his Spirit on them to give them a word with the power, and they showed them the miracles and the signs and wonders that followed them, when it was time for them to respond, they did not respond. At least not in the positive. And it's going to be too late. And they're going to come bowing on knee, and they're going to come in tears and woeful, and they're going to be so sorry. But it's going to be too late. See, right now, brothers and sisters, is the time. Right now. That's why we need to be praying now. For not only ourselves, but our relatives, our friends, our family. We need to be confessing our sins and the sins of our fathers. Just like Daniel did. So that if there's anybody out there that the Spirit of the Most High can touch, let him do his work. We would direct him by our prayer through the Messiah. Let him do his work. If there's anybody out there. Oh no, there's second, third, fourth, fifth chances right now. As long as Messiah's in the most holy place, there's all kinds of chances. But once he's finished, once he's placed the seal on his people, once the call is made, once the plagues begin to fall, it's too late. And they will come on bended knee, begging us to show them what we got. Please give us of your oil. Remember the parable? Give us of your oil. No, we don't have any to give y'all. We can't give it to you. Show us the word. Teach it to us like you were doing before, like you were doing. Too late. Sorry. That's when they're going to see there's all these stages they go through. First, there's going to be that stage. Then after they realize we're not going to have anything to say to them, they're going to organize parties together to rile each other up. Asatan's going to appear as Messiah. We're going to see that when we study Revelation, when we get down further in the book of Revelation. Then they're going to organize to kill us. They're going to go from grief, denial to grief, right? Then they're going to get angry. They're going to turn around to try to kill us. That's right. So that Revelation chapter 3 is going to come to pass. I will make them of the synagogue of Asatan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. Behold, I will make them to come and worship before thy feet, and to know they have loved thee. Oh yeah, they got all kind of money, all kind of Federal Reserve notes and gold and stuff. They own all kind of television stations. They control all branches of government. They're all in everything. They control all the religions, but they don't have the truth. And when the time comes that they're going to see the only thing that can save them is the truth, it'll be too late. Be too late. Be too late. They're trying to kill them. Come and worship before our feet. But right now is the time for them 10 men to take hold of the skirt of one and say, we will go with you because we heard that Yahweh is with you. That's y'all that are waking up right now. We will go with you because we heard Yahweh is with you. We will go with you. Show us which way we need to go. From people coming from all nations. See? That's why you can't say, people that are Caucasian or Asian or whatever, they can't be saved. You can't say that. They're going to be coming from all nations. Listen, I don't know what you're teaching, but something's telling me it's the truth. You need to tell me some more. And them are the people that's going to come to the truth. Not going to be a lot. Not going to be the majority by any stretch of the imagination. But there's going to be, in terms of the number of us, there's going to be a lot of them. It's not going to be a lot in terms of the number of the Earth population. But in terms of the number of us, there's going to be a lot of them. It's going to be hundreds of them, maybe thousands of them that come. Because listen, man, teach us this truth, man. Because I've been taught. I've been a Taoist. I've been a Buddhist. I've been a Hindu. I've been a Muslim. I've been a Christian. Whatever. I need you to teach me this stuff, man. Because the Spirit is just telling me what you got is true. Just like with Cornelius. Remember, Cornelius was praying and giving alms, and the Most High sent the angel, said, "Go get Kaffa. He's going to teach you the truth. Go get him, because your prayers have been heard by the Father. So go get this Hebrew and let him teach you the truth, brother." That's what they're gonna be saying. Look, man, I had a dream, and in the dream, I was told to go to you. I was told to come, and you're supposed to teach me something, man. Show me, because I want the truth. You're gonna have people doing that too. See, it's gonna be all kinds. This is exciting times we live in, man. Exciting and scary at the same time. Exciting because of all we're looking at the book of Revelation, and we're in the part that is talking about us. It's exciting because of what we know is getting ready to happen. This is leading to the return of the Messiah, our elder brother, our Messiah, the Father's only begotten, and the Father's going to redeem us and take us home. It's scary because of the people we're going to see that reject the truth. And it's going to be too late for them. Scary at the same time. Exciting and scary. Yes, brothers and sisters, this is where we at. We're going to, I'm going to stop here. I only got one verse today, but like I said, we're not rushing through Philadelphia. We're taking our time. We're going to have a third session in Philadelphia the next time we get together. Praise the Most High Yah. Meantime, let's have a word of prayer to close tonight's study.